Welcome to the Royal Heritage, your premier destination for captivating and educational content on world royalty's rich history and heritage. Delve into the fascinating world of history, kings, queens and dynasties as we uncover the stories behind majestic palaces, legendary monarchs and enduring traditions. On the night of September 26, 1983, during the peak of the Cold War, the Soviet Union's early warning missile detection system suddenly triggered an alert. The situation was dire. The United States, the Soviets' greatest adversary, appeared to have launched a nuclear attack. The missiles seemed to be on their way. Stanislav Petrov was the officer on duty at the Soviet Serpukhov 15 bunker, where the satellite detection system, known as OKO, was stationed. The data in front of him showed an apocalyptic event unfolding. According to the system, American nuclear warheads were speeding through the atmosphere, seemingly moments away from striking Soviet soil. Petrov had one critical responsibility: to relay this information to his superiors. If he did so, the Soviet military doctrine would require an immediate nuclear counterstrike, which could quickly escalate into an all-out nuclear war. Born on September 7, 1939 in Vladivostok, Russia, Stanislav Petrov was a Soviet military officer whose decisive actions that night prevented a global catastrophe. Coming from a military family, his father had been a fighter pilot during World War II, while his mother was a nurse. Petrov graduated from the Kyiv Higher Engineering Radiotechnical College and joined the Soviet Air Defense Forces in 1972 as an engineer, eventually reaching the rank of lieutenant colonel. Petrov's role involved analysing data from early warning systems designed to detect ballistic missile launches from the United States and other NATO countries. By 1983, he had been assigned to oversee operations at the command centre for the newly implemented OKO early warning system. The early 1980s were a particularly tense time in the Cold War. The relationship between the United States and the Soviet Union had reached a dangerously fragile state. The Soviet Union, under the leadership of Yuri Andropov, viewed the West with deep suspicion. Meanwhile, the US, led by President Ronald Reagan, was equally wary of increasing military expenditures and deploying forces in Europe. By this time, the Soviet Union had become convinced that a US attack was inevitable. Military strategies were built around launching an immediate and overwhelming retaliation to any detected nuclear strike. As a result, the Soviets heavily invested in systems like OKO to detect incoming missiles and provide an opportunity for counterstrikes before impact. At this moment of extreme tension, just after midnight on September 26, 1983, Petrov was the sole individual responsible for interpreting OKO's signals. The system issued a stark warning. 5 intercontinental ballistic missiles had been launched from the United States, heading straight for the Soviet Union. Standard protocol dictated that Petrov should immediately report the detection as a confirmed attack. His superiors would almost certainly respond with a retaliatory nuclear strike under the Soviet Union's launch on warning policy. But Petrov hesitated. The fate of millions rested on his decision. He had 2 reasons to doubt the system. First, OKO was new and had not been thoroughly tested. There was a possibility that the alert was a false alarm. Second, it made no sense for the US to launch only 5 missiles. A full-scale nuclear assault would likely involve hundreds or even thousands of missiles, not just a handful. Despite the immense pressure, Petrov went against protocol and decided not to report the warning as a confirmed attack. Instead, he marked it as a false alarm and waited. His instincts were correct. The supposed US missile strike never came. Later investigations revealed that the OKO system had misinterpreted sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds as missile launches. The world had narrowly escaped disaster. Instead of receiving a reward for his critical decision, Petrov faced interrogation. His actions exposed flaws in the Soviet missile detection system, something the authorities were not eager to acknowledge. He was reprimanded for failing to follow reporting procedures correctly, and the entire incident was classified. For years, the world knew nothing of Petrov's heroism. It wasn't until the late 1990s, following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, that the details of that fateful night were revealed. In the years that followed, Petrov received several international honours and awards for his role in preventing nuclear war. Stanislav Petrov passed away on May 19, 2017, at the age of 77. Today, his story remains largely unknown, yet it serves as a crucial reminder of how close humanity came to annihilation due to a technological error. More importantly, It highlights the power of human judgment and the fine line between survival and catastrophe in the nuclear age. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the history of Stanislav Petrov, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this fascinating story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.